You want a Main Yesod? Well, do you like being a perfectionist? Do you like big damage? Do you like speedrun strats? Do you like hearing? And most importantly of all, do you have the rationale to maintain discretion? Then Yesod, the patron librarian of technological sciences, is for you. Yesod is the Sephira of the Information Department. He is the second introduced throughout the course of Lobotomy Corporation, residing in the middle layer of Azea. This places his department in a rather integral spot of the facility, being the go-between of 4 other departments. As such, a lot of responsibility is placed on the cold and unfeeling machine that is Yesod. As a Sephira, he is exceedingly by the books, able to reference various parts of the manual by heart. He even chastises other Sephira for their quirks and mistakes, as seen with his interactions with the others in his lair, even going as far as commenting on your outfit almost immediately, that of which isn't meeting company standards. Despite his own reprimanding of others, he himself is not free of his quirks either, choosing to cover up as much as possible due to having an aversion to exposing any part of his body whatsoever. Regardless, due to his demeanor and sharp tongue, he is nicknamed the Viper. While he claims that the rest of the Sephira use it jokingly, he does make it a point that he's generally despised by some others under his supervision. He does, however, actually revel in the nickname, taking it as a source of pride from the outset. As we progress his story, he begins respecting our competence. In his second episode, he speaks with Hod over a casualty incident in his department. She's on the side of comforting the team, whereas Yesod sees it as an unnecessary act. You can side with Hod or Yesod in this affair, and regardless of which option you choose, he will go on about practicality within the facility, more or less stating that small comforts don't have much of a place here, and be more productive to find more ways to minimize casualties in the future instead. The following few episodes follow Yesod's interactions with various agents as they go about their working day. One stands out, that being James, something of a joking, more jovial fellow, best bud sort. Despite Yesod's coldness, the fellow is quite open to him, even going as far as calling him playmate. He attempts to coerce Yesod into letting him do work while he's over the mental corruption threshold, wherein the risks of breakdowns are particularly high. Though it is brushed off, it does eventually escalate and result in a horrific incident. 3 clerks and 4 agents were killed because 2 abnormalities were released into the facility. Yesod himself was the one to put out the order to execute James. He had let down his guard for just a moment and things went horrifically wrong, all but justifying his cold approach to management in the end. He remisses that he did enjoy the companionship and whatnot offered by socializing with his employees, but at the end of the day, this is still Lobotomy Corporation, a lonely and cruel place. But it's not like the Sephira are completely heartless, not like Angela, not like those that must have built this place. Next, we get his breakdown into core suppressions. He goes on about the need to remain cold and objective within his department, how it is best to not refer to fellas by name, but by their unique numbers instead. And yet, he's starting to fall apart himself, unable to remain quite as heartless. He ruminates on how they were once a department that collected and preserved information, but now they act in censoring and destroying it. The contradiction is setting him off. As he continues to break more and more, we finally get a glimpse into his past. Not as Yesod, but as Gabriel, a researcher on the Seed of Light project. Most of the story follows his descent into psychosis, following the death of Elijah. While originally, he seemed undisturbed, cold even, and wanting to do as much as possible with the information garnered through her death. A rot seemingly festered inside. This causes him to wear clothing with more coverage, hiding the rot within. It, however, doesn't stop him from scratching compulsively, the psychosis kicking in and causing him to keep tearing into his skin. Fellow employees insist he gets a medical examination. Each time, he refuses vehemently. Eventually, he's forced to undergo medical examination, aggressively bound and restrained. forced to undergo the procedures. However, nothing could be found, so to speak, causing his discharge. Unfortunately, the next time we see of Gabriel, the scratching had long intensified. The last seen of him before demise is a form that wasn't even able to manifest human speech. Eventually, his brain would be extracted, and the fellow would go on to become the Main Yesod. His internal turmoil and emotional rot carrying through to his Main self, now prompting his core meltdown. Eventually, through the pixelated mess that is his core suppression, we finally bring him to his senses. He accepts his past mistakes and state of mind, coming to terms with his fault in some matters. He decides to carry with him that old trauma, no longer trying to bury it, but coming to accept the emotions and rot underneath, choosing the eventual hope instead of the overarching despair of the corporation. He encourages us to embrace our painful past, since the beginning is always the worst part. Regardless, he chastises the manager on their attire one more time. Time for Yesod's abnormality pages, which, I will say up front, majority of the abnormality pages are strong. Only 2 of them are bad. If more floors were designed like this, Library would be a more enjoyable game. Starting off with the Forsaken Murderer with his first card, Violence. A tier 1 breakdown page with a -2 rate. Lower the user's min rolls by 1 and increase their maximum value rolls by 3. Violence is good. It's a pseudo dice increase. On average, your rolls are going to be higher than normal. Combine them with pages that have a lot of dice, and you will have a chance to roll higher more often. On top of that, it's not a strength up, it's a roll range increase. Why that matters? It's able to go through power null effects, like Zhao and Yan, all for the small cost of lowering your min rolls. Sure, it's going to suck when it does happen, it is a luck-based roll. Though, the real downside of taking this page is you're no longer gaining emotion coins on min and max rolls reliably. Yes, this is the real downside of taking this card. Overall, a good card, but Yesod has a lot better ones. On to why everyone calls Yesod a blunt floor. Metallic Ringing, a tier 1 positive abnormality page with a neutral rate. When the user lands a blunt attack, inflict 1 bind and paralysis next scene. Yeah, this card is pretty bonkers. Reducing an enemy dice roll by 3 and inflicting bind to make it easier to redirect them is great for dealing with bosses. The best part is this works through power null effects and is very easy to apply. Even in non-boss fights, the fact you can spread this out over multiple people makes it very strong. Yes, you're seeing me use it against the Red Mist in the background. Sure, she can have infinite speed, but the fact she can't hit me with her dice shows how strong this card is. Now, it's time to boost up the user's dice value with Unchained Wrath. A tier 2 breakdown page with a neutral rate. The user's blunt dice gain 1 to 3 power. Speed is fixed at 1. Always available, and on average, a +2 dice power for blunt dice. It's pretty good to make them hit harder. Only problem is you're always moving last, so you lose all ability to redirect attacks. Which isn't really a downside, since the user can clash enemies that are already targeting them in order to fight back. In case it does get way too overwhelming, counter dice can be used to deal with it, or other teammates. Even a range user can take full advantage of it since there's so many blunt range attacks. Even then, sometimes going last is a massive upside since you're able to get in a devastating attack without any clashing. One such example is with Regret against Zhao. Regret is a 5-cost ego page with 2 6-8 blunt attacks with on hit. Deal stagger damage equal to 10% of the current stagger resistance, with the final die being a 9-19 blunt die with a 50% effect. Yes, by going last, this effect will always land. Yesod has a way to deal with every boss in the game by destroying 60% of their stagger at the start of the fight, with the biggest one being Zhao, with a whopping 700 stagger resistance. After this attack, she has only 200 remaining. Yeah, the fight is basically over now. On top of that, it's easy to boost thanks to it being only blunt dice and has very strong key page users, which in turn makes it great for dealing with enemy mass summation attacks. Casual 6-7, please.
Are you kidding me?
Now for builds. We have Urban Nightmare Puppet Edition, Smoking Idiots, and oh wait, High Purple Tears Worst Stance. Also, guns, glorious guns. If you guys are wondering why I didn't continue with the OP effect of Unchained Wrath, it's easier to tell it here with Clean. Clean is a tier 2 positive abnormality page with a +2 rate. The user's offensive dice gain power against enemies with slower speed, +1 power per point of difference up to 3. The user will not gain the power when defending from mass attacks or using counter dice. Yeah, this is pretty much always +3 strength thanks to Unchained Wrath. Okay, let me explain. Unchained Wrath doesn't set your speed to 1. The user is inflicted with a 99 bind to make it speed 1. Now, remember how Callie was getting infinite speed dice? That was thanks to her passive, the Strongest. The user's slowest speed dice is set to infinity. If multiple speed dice min-roll, turn them all into infinity. Yeah, instead of the slowest person on the board, we now have the fastest person. Thanks to that, we can combine another passive, Miyu's Prowess. User gains +5 dice power for speed difference. Yeah, nobody's moving faster than infinity. Now, all of Yesod's offensive dice are now +8 for the remainder of the fight. Yeah, if you can't tell, this is just insane. Combine that with so many offensive dice, Yesod becomes the best floor in the game. Oh, and before you think this isn't hard to achieve at all, you will always get Unchained Wrath on your second tier abnormality polling. Cause it's neutral. Yeah, will always happen. You may not get clean thanks to ratios, but overall, this is very easy to pull off. This is the reason why Miyungus was coined for how strong it was, and PM decided to take this design philosophy into Limbus Company. I'm not going to elaborate on that, that'll be for another video. If the user somehow dies with this combo, I don't know what happened. If you do decide to not use this mechanic and want to do it more ethically, it's still very easy to achieve on Yesod's floor thanks to other abnormality cards like Repetitive Pattern Recognition. Why the bloody hell does it have to have 3 R's and everything? A tier 1 positive abnormality page with a +1 rate. After the user wins 3 clashes, restore 1 light immediately and gain 1 to 2 haste next scene. This effect can proc multiple times. Mass attacks don't proc this effect. Another absurdly strong card. You're going to be clashing with the enemy a lot, and you're going to be proccing this effect multiple times, especially if they're running around with Miyungus. The additional haste helps to redirect, and in turn, gain more power until you get to Unchained. Or if you don't want to abuse the interaction, you can proc Clean and Miyu's Prowess without it. Though its real selling point is the additional light restore. Come late game, and we can no longer gain light with emotion levels. This card can help the user get back to full light again and keep attacking the enemy into the ground, or anytime you miss emotion level ups, which then can proc Yesod's next abnormality, Recharge. A tier 2 positive abnormality page with a neutral rate. If the librarian has maximum light at the start of the scene, gain 1 to 2 haste, deal 2 to 7 damage with attacks for that scene. The additional damage can be boosted. A good page, gain even more haste to do more damage. Very easy to activate and maintain if you know how to maintain your light. If you get maximum light during your turn, this effect will not proc. Don't use Omnis Power or on-play light restores to cheat the system. Now, with all that, time for Yesod's immediate mass attack card, Grinder, Mark 5-2. A 5-cost mass attack individual with a 2 to 7, 3 to 8, and 4 to 9 slashing dice. With all of them having, on hit, inflict 2 bleed. Well, this mass attack is broken. It's all slashing dice, so Kim and Purple Tier slashing stance can get a lot out of that, on top of using Sharpened Blade and Snake Slit. On top of that, anyone using Miyungus can give it 8 dice power. 8! Yeah, this works on mass attacks as well. If you're starting to see a pattern of everything on Yesod is pretty broken, that's because it is. This guy will find anything and break it. For builds, we have Miyungus Abuse. Bunny's going fast. Kim is the GOAT. Purple Tear's the GOAT. Time to continue on with Yesod's strong abnormality pages with Rhythm. A tier 1 breakdown page with a -1 rate. For the remainder of the reception, gain 1 rhythm status at the start of each scene. Okay, so what is the rhythm status? The status will increase the user's strength by 1. If hit, take 2 to 5 additional stagger damage. Multiple stacks of rhythm will only increase the duration, not the effect. When a user with rhythm hits an enemy, there's a 25% chance that the status will spread to an allied librarian, prioritizing librarians without the status. To sum up, it's pulsation with a stagger downside for getting hit. Overall, very strong abnormality if you're doing group play with EXOD. Taking additional stagger damage sucks, but hey, you shouldn't be getting hit in the first place, and secondly, you have a lot of mind haulers available, so use them. Since we're doing group play, we should get even more buffs on everyone with music. A tier 3 abnormality page. All characters currently on the battlefield get it. All characters deal 4 to 8 additional damage with attacks. However, they also suffer 4 to 8 true stagger damage upon taking a hit. Whenever the user defeats an enemy, the user recovers 15 HP and stagger resistance. Enemies can't proc the healing effect. Yeah, Project Moon was never good with consistent wording. Music is one of Group EXOD's finishers. By the time you're getting this, the fight is pretty much over, and now it's time to clean up everyone. Good effect, just there's another abnormality page later on that does this, but better. Time for Singing Machine's final abnormality page, Musical Addiction. A tier 2 breakdown page with a -2 rate. The user's offensive dice gain 1 to 3 power. All defensive dice rolls 1s. Increase all your red dice power by 2. Who cares about defensive dice anyways? It's boring. Only problem with this card is it's hard to get thanks to its -2 bias on a tier 2. The only way we are getting this if we somehow sack a person at emotion level 3 and 4. On top of that, picking up Musical Addiction locks you out from getting clean. Either way, you're still getting a dice increase for your tier 2, which is really good. If you are aiming to use Musical Addiction, make sure the user doesn't have any lead defensive dice, and include a lot, and I mean a lot, of offensive dice. Like this card, Harmony, a 5-cost ego page. Upon each successful hit, a random ally takes 3 stagger damage immediately and gains 1 strength next scene. Upon defeating an enemy, all allies including self gains 2 strength. It comes with a 4 to 7 and 3 to 6 pierce dice. With on hit, recycle this die until it rolls the minimum value up to 2 times, ending it with a 4 to 8 slashing die. I don't know why it needed a slashing die, but okay. Another broken ego page that ties EXOD's group gameplay together. It's Pierce focused, so people like Alan and Purple Tier Pierce Stance can bump up the Pierce dice to insane values thanks to specialization. On top of that, on the low end, this is an additional 3 to 7 strength from just using it. If you're able to get a kill and the max amount of rolls, it's a 17th strength gain collectively between 5 people. This is insane! Well, as long as you don't min roll repeatedly. In order to minimize min rolling, combine with Purple Tier and her Manipulator of the Odds, or use Violence to increase the roll range. The stagger damage is the only downside, but at this point you should be able to control it very easily if everyone is above 21 stagger resistance. Even in solos, this card is super strong, giving up to 9 strength to 1 person. Also, it has a very fast animation when used against a range attack. For builds, we have Pierce Purple Tier, Alan and his Night Owls, Solo Tanya, and Red Goes Faster. On to everyone's favorite abnormality, the Funeral of Dead Butterflies. Starting off with Lament, a tier 1 breakdown page with a neutral rate. This card has 2 effects. Starting off with the easier one, when the librarian has a negative status at the start of the scene, gain 1 to 2 strength. Now for the aura effect. As long as this librarian is alive, everyone else takes 2 to 4 damage, if they have a negative status. Power Null, Charge, and Smoke don't count as a negative status. You're going to be applying a debuff of some sort onto the enemy, so the damage effect is always active. Enemies can also proc the damage effect, however, you're going to be hitting them a lot more than they're hitting you, so it's not going to really matter too much. For the self effect, getting the strength buff is rather easy thanks to offensive position. The user gains 1 strength up, but is permanently afflicted with 3 fragile each scene. So yeah, since you're having fragile on yourself, this procs the effect. Now let's take this a step further and have Xiao be the recipient. When she hits emotion level 2, all debuffs that hit her are reduced by half, rounding down. So with this combo, she has a permanent 2-3 strength, and whenever she does get hit, she only takes 1 additional damage. However, it's time to see one of Yesod's bad abnormalities. Eternal Rest. If all of your guys have more max HP than the enemy, trigger this effect. Every librarian deals an additional 2-7 damage and 2-5 stagger damage for every attack if one of your guys has less HP than a single enemy. Cancel this effect. Yes, Project Moon messed up the activation requirements. Nothing new here. Yeah, if the card had its original text, this would have been great against bosses, but instead we have this piece of garbage. Never take this card. From one bugged card to another bugged card. It's Coffin, a tier 3 abnormality page. When the user hits an enemy whose HP is 50% or less, seal 1 speed die on the target. This effect can proc twice per scene. Mass attacks are excluded. In case you're wondering what the bug is, based on the description of this card, this effect should destroy dice if you're able to attack the enemy fast enough. It's already coded in the game for the abnormality fight, but not for the player side. Still, even without that, it's still pretty good for dealing with Yesod's Realization's final boss, Gunman. Yes, Angela will stare at you until she dies. Outside of that, it could be used to stall out Ballas. However, we have so much damage, we usually kill them before this effect can even happen. Now it's time for everyone's favorite, and why Rent is so low on technological science. Solemn Lament, a 4-cost range attack. Each die on this page is rolled 8 times. You have a 1-6 blunt die with on hit, deal 3 damage or 3 stagger damage. 8 freaking attacks! It's a delete option on a floor full of delete options. It's easy to boost thanks to it being blunt, has a singular die so singular strike procs on all dice, and a massive payoff to all your strength gaining. For the love of God, don't use it if you are power nulled, ramming it into a strong singular die attack, or use it to defend against mass attacks. Yes, you only got 1 die to defend yourself, you don't have 8. You're going to lose, and it's going to suck. Outside of these 3 conditions, you should be able to kill everyone. And I do mean everyone in the game. Yes, you can kill Argalia with Solemn Lament. For builds, we have the Emma Special. Purple tier, where did the yellow bar go? Singular Strike, Eugen is OP, and Burn is good with Xiao. Also Callow if you want to do meme stuff. Heard you needed more guns. Don't worry, Yesod has another one, the Marksman. Starting off with Request, a tier 1 positive abnormality page with a +2 rate. When there is no requested target present, the first enemy the selected librarian hits is marked as one. The user deals 3-5 damage against the requested target. When the user defeats the requested target, fully recover stagger resistance and resolve twice as many books, including emotion level up books. Yes, you read it right. This is why Yesod is commonly picked, to resolve a lot more books and make grinding a whole lot easier. If it stopped there, this would have been a great abnormality page. Instead, Project Moon added on even more damage and a full stagger recovery for every kill that the user does. As long as they are killing fast enough, they never have to worry about being staggered. All for the low price of a tier 1 abnormality page. Man, that was a lot of text. Hopefully the next one won't be as bad. Oh god. Continuing on to 7th bullet and this mountain of text. A tier 2 breakdown page with a -1 rate. The user deals 1-7 damage with offensive dice. When an offensive dice draws or loses in a clash, deal damage equal to the dice value to the opponent. Every 7th melee or range page played, target a random character, including allies. All that work for a bad abnormality page. Holy cow. The additional damage is good and all, but we have other ways of getting it. And on top of that, losing only gives the dice value as damage. No smoke bonus, no other abnos, only the flat number. Finally, and what actually kills this page is the random targeting. If that 7th card was played in a clash, congrats, you are now taking a one-sided attack and now doing a one-sided attack to someone else at the end of the turn. Personally, I don't like taking a one-sided attack if I can avoid it. Now, is it fun? Yes, it's very fun. I enjoy the particle effect about this card, and if you have some time and want to play around with it, go ahead. Now for Yesod's final abnormality page, Dark Flame. A tier 3 abnormality page. The user gains 1-2 haste and 2-4 strength each scene. As long as this user is alive, gain the aura effect. For the remainder of the reception, everyone with endured or ineffective resistances are changed to weak or fatal. So, remember how everyone thinks Solemn Lament is the delete button? Yeah, Dark Flame is the entire reason why. All bosses are either endured or ineffective in the game. But now, they're all weak to everything and ready for Yesod to come in with multiple hitting attacks and kill everyone very quickly. On top of all that, he also gains more haste, which doesn't matter because you're using Miungist, but he gains 2-4 more strength as well to make all this even more effective. This is the most broken thing in the game by far, and it's not even close. Oh yeah, your guys are also weak to everything, but does it really matter? You're going to be beating everyone to a bloody pulp before that happens. Yeah, always take this abnormality page. It's way too broken to not be used. Now for Yesod's final ego page, Synchronize with the Gunman. A 1-cost ego page. After playing this page, the user will transform into the Gunman for the next 3 scenes. The Gunman's deck only has pierce attacks with 3 light restore pages, 2 immobilizing pages, 2 mass attack individuals with 2 dice, and 1 mass attack individual with 3 dice, and desynchronization page. Pierce people are eating good today. Gunman gives Yesod even more mass attacks to gun down his foes. This allows him to clear multiple enemies in a turn and keep doing it for 3 turns. On top of that, he has 0-cost light restore cards, so he can spam them whenever he wants to. He has anti-boss capabilities because he can shut down 2 speed dice from the enemy. And on top of all that, he can play 2 mass attacks each turn if he wants to. This is by far the best synchronization page in the entire game. As long as you keep this guy alive, all your enemies will be turned to mush before you even know what happens. Time for Allen and Purple Tier to make their return. Dark Flame goes brrrr, and even more speedrun strats. Now for the final part, Yesod's EXODIA combo. Yes, he has one even though it isn't outlined it very well. The best part is, this is the easiest one. Obviously, the user will be using Miungist and whatever 4 points for passive. Deck can be really whatever. He'll be picking up Request, Pattern Recognition, Unchained Wrath, Clean, and Dark Flame. Request for more damage and an infinite stagger recovery. Pattern Recognition to activate Miungist sooner and gives even more light restore for the user to keep on going. Unchained Wrath and Clean for +8 dice power, and Dark Flame to one-shot everything in your sight. Yes, all of this is gotten easily since you don't need to sacrifice anyone or do anything except winning your clashes in order to get it. And keep in mind, this is only for one person. You got 4 more people that can do whatever they want. For 3 of them, I recommend specializing in 1 die type to take advantage of all of Yesod's egos. Slashing for Grinder, Blunt for Regret, and Pierce for Gunman. Then, your 5th person will be Nikolai. All because she gives +1 dice power for everyone and a 50% damage increase on 1 enemy. No reason not to include her. Then, on top of all this, you make them all smoke people as well to deal massive damage to everything. Yes, every floor is a smoke floor, just Yesod does it so much better than everyone else. Thank you for watching my So You Want to Main Yesod video. If you enjoyed it, please like this video and subscribe if you want to help me. Here are other So You Want to Main videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Toodles.